far he's grown.
Ryan, what do you think? What's the first thing we say about Baker Mayfield after that performance yesterday?
Believe land. You remember when LeBron went back and they became Believe land and they thought that they could win? That's what this team is. And it's Kevin Stefanski's belief in Baker Mayfield. It's Baker Mayfield's belief and Kevin Stefanski. But more importantly, when Baker Mayfield believes in himself, that's when he's the most dangerous. He's like a streaky three-point shooter. If Baker Mayfield sees the first ball go in, he's going to grab another one and he's going to do a heat check. And if that heat check goes well, then you see what we got to see yesterday. They had a great game plan. Kevin Stefanski came out with the belief that Baker Mayfield could move the ball through the air against the Tennessee Titans. First play off the back, first down pass to Jarvis Landry, and it's a first down. Also in that drive, there should have been a touchdown pass to Donovan Peoples-Jones that he dropped, and it was right on the money. And it was from that point on that Baker Mayfield understood that Nick Chubb running the ball first, him in the play action pass being dialed in, was going to be the way that they were going to win and dominate this game. And we saw it from the start to the finish. This is perfect Baker. This is the Baker that they drafted, the Heisman Trophy winner, the Baker Mayfield that slam flags in the middle of the field against Ohio State. And if they get this guy down the stretch with the way that this run game is playing, you do not want to see the Cleveland Browns. And he made everybody and put everybody on alert that he was feeling dangerous.
It's a good thought. We'll talk about the team in a second because I think that is important. But Dan, let's talk about Baker Mayfield. It's his best performance since his uniform said Oklahoma on it. What specifically did you see from him?
Yeah, it's his biggest win, and it is his best performance. Two C's come to mind: confidence and clarity. And that's what he's playing with right now. He's playing with the confidence. He hears that play call and he's like, all right, I'm really confident in this play call with the people that I'm doing it with. And then there's a clarity of thought process. This is not just, hey, guys are wide open by themselves and I can make some throws. That's part of it. Kevin Stefanski's doing a really nice job of scheming some stuff open. But it's also that he's shown up and made some plays as well. He's made some throws. I love the fact that they get him moving to his left. He's very confident doing it. Jarvis Landry has been somebody that Baker Mayfield looks at and he goes, you know what? I trust that he's going to get open. DPJ has really started to become an impactful performer of this offense. You see the screen game taking kind of a step forward. So it's like, this is why coaching matters. Like this offense and this quarterback last year to everybody stunk. And this offense and this quarterback to everybody this year is really good. And there are certainly a couple different pieces, but the biggest piece is Kevin Stefanski. He has stepped in and goes, Baker, you're the leader of our football team. And you need to show us you're the leader of our football team with your play. And for the last 5 weeks, Baker Mayfield has done that because the highs right now for him are high, and he's really gotten rid of some of the lows that we saw last year.
So look, Rex, for a team that has been as bad for the last couple of decades as they have been, and it was 1-31 in a stretch just a few years ago, to be 9-3 and to be on your way to making the playoffs is in and of itself an accomplishment. But as you watch them, I know you think this is a team that can do more than that this January.
Yeah, absolutely. And it never took this game right here to tell me that. I said it in the previous week that if they get average play from the quarterback position, this team can go deep in the playoffs. Well, if they get this Baker Mayfield, shoot, they can win it all. And so that's where you look at it. It's like what Dan talks about with Kevin Stefanski. He brought in a system. And you know what? They drafted players, brought players into it. They have one of the best offensive lines in the league. Last year, oh my gosh, were they a mess. So what they did, they get a high free agent in there, Conklin, first-round pick playing at tackles. And those guys are playing great, but it's based on the run game. They got Baker Mayfield underneath center. Wait a second, I thought he was supposed to be a shotgun guy. No, they put him underneath. They move the pocket for him. They give him vision, and he's a different guy. And all the credit in the world goes to that to the quarterback and to Baker Mayfield. And even the little thing when he said, I just don't do the stupid things anymore.
Yeah.
That's the truth. And I see growth from him right here. And I said, look, I pulled for this guy. There's no question about it. Because he had to come back a little bit, and he did. And I tell you what, if they play like this, if Baker Mayfield can play like this, they can beat anybody.
I think that it's interesting, and again, the meeting between you and he on our show at the Super Bowl was so fascinating because he reminds me a little of you. He's got a little bit of Rex Ryan in him, which is, I think, why you do root for him despite all of the criticism. And let's be fair.
I was just being honest.
That's what I mean. Yep. And so is he, generally speaking.
Right.
And so when he's been bad, we've been the first to point out when he's been bad. Yesterday, he was spectacular. Let's make sure to say about this today.
Carson Wentz is broken. The Philadelphia Eagles have broken him. And if you look at the two most important people in their organization when it comes to power, it's their general manager and their head coach. And their general manager, within the same year, gave Carson Wentz the biggest guaranteed contract ever and then drafted a guy in the second round. So there's a seed of doubt planted in Carson Wentz's mind. And then the head coach, Doug Peterson, yesterday decides to go, okay, it's time for Jalen Hurts, which is probably the right decision. And then he leaves him in for the rest of the game. And now you've got another seed of doubt. Does my general manager believe in me? Not as much as I think. Does my head coach believe in me? Not as much as I think. And that has broken Carson Wentz. And I always use this saying, don't give up what you really want for what you want right now. They really want Carson Wentz to be their franchise quarterback, but they want to win games right now. That's why I think they have to start Jalen Hurts next week. I don't think you can walk into your locker room and not play him because your quarterback is completely mentally broken, and the Eagles did it themselves.
RC, Jalen Hurts or Carson Wentz next week? Which direction should they go?
It's Jalen Hurts. Doug Peterson has absolutely no choice. Doug Peterson was standing at the top of the cliff, and Carson Wentz has been beating him down that cliff to the edge, and he was about to fall over. He had to make a decision. He had to say something to his team that this type of play, no matter the position, no matter the contract, no matter the name, is unacceptable. And so you put Jalen Hurts in the game, and they said there was no plan. Carson Wentz didn't necessarily know how long he was going to play, but in the third quarter, you get the best pass of the game, and it's from your backup quarterback. He is Jalen Reagor, who we've been looking for all year, and now you have this huge play. And then you go into the fourth quarter, and it's 4th and 18, and I know it's kind of a time where you're trying to figure out how can we just get this game close, and he throws a touchdown. The football had touch on it. He was accurate. He created plays with his legs. He looked like the more poised, experienced, confident quarterback yesterday. And so Doug Peterson, you start him. And if it doesn't work out, then fine. At least you made a change. At least you showed your team that play matters. And if it works out, then you have a decision to make in the future. But it's no decision to make about the quarterback of the Philadelphia Eagles next week, because that guy has to be Jalen Hurts.
Well, Rex, you're my coach here, and so the coach has to balance losing his locker room versus potentially losing his job. How do you handle this now if you're Doug Peterson?
Well, if he loses his locker room, he's going to lose his job anyway. So
Yeah.
To me, look, I have not been a huge fan of Jalen Hurts. I mean, I don't think he has the NFL skill set. But right now, so I don't see him as an NFL quarterback. But right now, the way Carson Wentz is playing, he's not one either. So to me, you got no choice. What I saw as just a fan is as soon as you put Hurts in, the entire team picked up. So that was a spark like, hey, we want this guy. And then when you hear, you see this, attitude by Carson Wentz and all that, I understand. Here's my sources tell me that he's a guy that knows it all in the locker room. Well, guess what? That doesn't fly. That means people want you benched. And that's what I don't think they have a choice. They got to go with Jalen Hurts. And so we'll see.
When you say that, it's reminiscent of the fact that this is a team that seemed to play better around Nick Foles than it did around Carson Wentz, and maybe now it makes a little sense to you.
Yeah, it makes sense to me now when I hear about these. This is, a know-it-all guy. Because at the time, I'm like, there's no comparison. Athletically, Carson Wentz is exactly what you want as a quarterback. But it's all these underlining things. If he's not coachable, if he thinks he's above the team and everything else, no wonder everybody was screaming for Nick Foles, who we all know is just a journeyman guy and a backup quarterback. But I understand it much better than I did, at the time.
So, Dan Orlovsky, you say that right now Carson Wentz is broken. Candidly, watching it, it's impossible to disagree. Can he be fixed?
Oh, absolutely. The right people can absolutely fix Carson Wentz. But, Greeny, it's going to come to trust. And I think that's when I hear those post-game press conference comments from Carson Wentz going, I didn't really know the plan. I was told that Jalen Hurts might go in for that first play and then maybe a series. That's the biggest concern I have right now, because the question becomes, how does Carson Wentz ever trust, again, the general manager, Howie Roseman, and the head coach, Doug Peterson? How was there not the conversation of, hey, Carson, right now you're not playing good enough and our offense is struggling. If that continues to be the case in this game, Jalen's going going in. And if Jalen provides a spark, or if Jalen plays well, which he did, he's going to continue to stay in. There can't be this gray area right now for this offense. And so it's going to take time. And I said this last week, Greeny. The biggest question in this organization is, do they believe that either Doug Peterson or Carson Wentz is their future? Because if they believe it's Carson Wentz, then they need to find somebody that can rebuild the trust. Because right now the trust between the player and the coach is completely broken. And the question becomes, what about 2021? That's the reality. The division's not being won, Eagles fans. What about 2021? Because if you move to Jalen Hurts for the next 4 games, I think 5 games or whatever's left, you bring into question 2021. I don't care about the money. I understand it's very difficult. But when you decide that it's time to move on, I don't know if you can bring back the guy that you benched with the same coaching staff.
It's 4 games left for the Eagles at this point, and they, in theory, because the division is so bad, are still alive in it. But as we will show you later, the Giants and some other teams are